Back in the old days, freak shows weren't just a source of fun, they were the heart of American culture. At the time, there was no internet for folks to binge on, so they rushed to circuses and sideshows for a taste of the extraordinary. These spectacles spotlighted individuals with rare and weird physical traits, often labeled as circus freaks. In this video, we're looking at the 15 circus freaks who didn't just stun the crowd. They broke the limits of what people could imagine. Number 15. Andrew A. Golly. Losing both hands in a sawmill accident at 17 would have ended most lives before they even started. But not Andrew Golly. For him, that moment became the hinge where survival swung into invention. With help from his blind father and a local blacksmith, he built his first metal prosthetics, rough, heavy pieces of iron that still followed his command. Over the years, he refined them into tools that didn't just replace his hands, but pushed past their limits. He lifted engine blocks, threaded needles, and carved new prosthetics with the very ones he wore. Known as the man with the iron hands, he ran a machine shop in Canada, earning a spot in Ripley's Believe It or Not. His shop survived 2 fires. He rebuilt anyway. His hands weren't just mechanical, they were pure ingenuity forged from stubborn will. When he died on Christmas Day in 1960, he left behind steel hands, burned walls, and a legacy built from a refusal to give up. Number 14. Coen T. Updike. Coen had what old sideshows called a horsetail, a thick, coarse rope of hair growing straight from his lower back, trailing down like a creature of myth from Greek mythology. It wasn't glued on, it wasn't stage makeup, and it wasn't some carnival prop. Like Belle Carter and Eleanor Taranto before him, Coen's growth was completely 100% natural. Born in the 1930s, he toured under the banner of Boy with the Horse's Mane, leaving crowds somewhere between intrigued and unsettled. No known photos remain in public archives, and medical documentation is near non-existent. Still, scattered reports describe him braiding the hair or twisting it into showy, strange knots during his act. One thing is clear: his condition wasn't painful, didn't hold him back, and didn't threaten his life. It just existed. In a world built on extremes where every oddity was packaged with drama, Coen's anomaly was quiet, bizarre, and utterly unforgettable. There were no tricks or tragedy, just one rare feature that grew and refused to be ignored. Number 13. The Carlson sisters. Dorothy and Florence Carlson didn't just share the stage. We mean they owned it. Touring the U.S. from the 1920s to the 1940s, the Carlson sisters were billed as the boxing fat girls, and they brought the crowd to life every time. But their act wasn't clumsy or slow. It was sharp, funny, and surprisingly fast. They jabbed, dodged, and traded insults in perfect rhythm, using their weight not as a punchline, but a weapon of timing and surprise. Crowds came in expecting a gimmick, but left applauding a performance. These weren't background extras or sideshow fillers. They were stars. Playbills showed them in gloves, mid-punch, expressions fierce and playful. Not much is known about their personal lives, but what's left behind is clear. They changed the rules. While many fat acts leaned into stillness or mockery, the Carlsons moved and made sure the audience moved with them. They weren't tragic. They were bold and fast. Number 12. Charlie Dunlop. Charlie never needed elaborate props. His body did everything for him. Born in the early 1900s, he had a condition believed to be related to Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which gave his skin an extraordinary elasticity. During the 1920s and 1930s, he worked at circus lots and traveling fairs, stretching folds of skin from his neck, arms, and cheeks in ways most people couldn't fathom. Some people laughed nervously, others winced, but almost everyone stared. He didn't twist bones or bend joints like contortionists. He simply pulled his own skin like soft taffy. That quiet strangeness made him unforgettable. His act didn't rely on hype or theatrics. It relied on the honesty of what his body naturally did. He didn't oversell it, didn't pretend it was painless, and never asked to be pitied. He offered the audience something unpolished and raw. In that uneasy space between curiosity and discomfort, Charlie carved out a rare and lasting place in sideshow history. Number 11. The Armless Freak. He never needed hands to hold attention. Forrest Layman painted, smoked, and even signed autographs with only his feet. He joined the sideshow in the 1920s, performing everywhere from dusty state fairs to the bright lights of Madison Square Garden. Audiences watched in stunned silence as he dipped his toes into ink and sketched portraits with more precision than most trained hands could manage. Layman didn't rely on gimmicks or exaggerated backstories. He sat calmly at a table and let skill speak for itself. One now iconic photo shows him mid-game, playing cards with legends like Jack Earl and CeeLo, his foot effortlessly holding a full hand. Off stage, he was clever, funny, and fiercely in control of his public image. He wasn't someone to pity or gawk at. He was the reason people came back. Layman never asked for sympathy. He just showed, again and again, that ability lives in willpower, not anatomy. Number 10. Captain Louis Sorcho. Captain Louis Sorcho dubbed himself the champion deep-sea diver of the world, and judging by his old postcards, he looked every bit the part. We mean, like for real. Suited in heavy diving armor or metal-stacked uniforms, Sorcho ran a traveling underwater stunt show that crossed America in the early 1900s. Spectators packed in to watch him demonstrate diving techniques, act out rescue drills, and stage full-on underwater battles, all within massive glass water tanks. His wife, Frances, also suited up and joined him in the act. Sorcho claimed to have recovered 132 bodies from the USS Maine and to come from a legendary family of divers, though how much of that was real, no one could say. But that wasn't the point. The point was the spectacle, daring, heroic, unforgettable. He turned nautical risk into thrilling entertainment, walking the line between showman and legend. Maybe the stories were embellished, but long after the tanks were drained, the name Captain Sorcho still floated above the surface. He was a one-of-a-kind. Number 9. The Capiz Boy. In the late 1970s, a child from Capiz stunned European visitors with his appearance. His upper body was covered in dark fur-like patches and large moles, leading outsiders to label him the piebald Filipino boy. By today's understanding, he likely had giant congenital melanocytic nevus, a condition where large pigmented birthmarks, often hairy, cover parts of the body. At the time, however, superstition shaped the narrative. Some said he resulted from a mixed-race union, while others whispered myths that bordered on cruelty. He was taken overseas and displayed in medical halls and sideshow settings, treated more as an anatomical curiosity than a child. No name survives, no recorded voice, only sketches and scattered accounts. Yet his story stands as one of the earliest documented cases of a condition still misunderstood. He wasn't simply a sideshow exhibit. He was a reminder of how quickly wonder turns into fear, and how a child's body became a window into colonial fascination and discomfort. So, what do you say? Number 8. Martina and Juan de la Cruz. Martina and Juan weren't just twins. They were promoted as the world's smallest people. Born in Capiz to parents of ordinary height, Martina measured 27 inches tall, while Juan reached 29. Sideshow promoters, of course, exaggerated their size, trimming their height on posters to just over 20 inches. What truly drew the crowds wasn't simply their stature, it was their persistence. They debuted at the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair, and performed throughout the United States for decades afterward. Juan even became the smallest man ever to register for U.S. military service. He later married Gregoria Gabriel, and the two had a daughter, Maria, who sadly passed away in 1907. The loss didn't stop the siblings. They continued working into their 60s. One of the final surviving photos shows them standing together in Lewistown, wearing formal clothing, poised for another show. Their story wasn't rooted in size. It was built on endurance, dignity, and the determination to make a life in a world that often overlooked them. Number 7. Maxine Mina. Born in the Philippines in 1896, Maxine lived with something almost unimaginable: 2 extra legs attached to her lower back. The condition, now recognized as craniopagus parasiticus, came from a partially formed parasitic twin. These additional limbs had no torso or face, just legs, and astonishingly, Maxine could move them. When she debuted in 1917 at a sideshow in Atlantic City, she appeared as the only 4-legged girl alive. Doubters assumed it had to be trickery, so she performed unclothed, not for shock, but to silence accusations. There was no illusion. Rear Admiral G.W. Baird personally confirmed she had voluntary control over all 4 limbs. Maxine didn't hide from what made her different. She made it part of her presence. Her performances were calm and assured, and her career lasted for years. She wasn't desperate for spectacle, nor was she chasing sympathy. She stepped onto a stage with a body the world couldn't easily explain, and claimed that space entirely on her own terms. Number 6. Anna Swan. Anna didn't simply grow tall, she grew past every limit people tried to place on her. Born in Nova Scotia in 1846, she stood 5 feet by age 4, taller than most men by 10, and eventually reached nearly 8 feet. But Anna's story isn't measured in inches. It's measured in character. When P.T. Barnum brought her to New York as a teenager, she became one of his museum's biggest attractions. Yet she never allowed herself to be reduced to a spectacle. Crowds expected shock, but they found intelligence, composure, and a gentleness that softened every stare. When the museum burned in 1865, she nearly died, too large for the narrow exits, saved only in a desperate final moment. Later, she married Martin Van Buren Bates, another giant, and the two tried to carve out a quiet life. Their only child, born weighing over 20 pounds, didn't survive. Anna spent her later years away from crowds. People remembered her size. Those who knew her remembered her grace, which needed no stage. Number 5. Damu Dotree. There was a calm inside Damu Dotree that even lions seemed to understand. He didn't rely on cracking whips. He didn't need theatrics. The animals listened to him for reasons no one could fully explain. Raised in Pune, he began as a quiet acrobat, but the draw of the cage shaped his path. By 13, he was already working with tigers, building trust slowly, never through fear. His gift carried him to Paris with renowned trainer Alfred Court, and later to the United States, where he enchanted crowds for Ringling Brothers as Prince Damu. His style blended elegance with clarity. He didn't overpower animals, he moved alongside them. During World War II, he served in the U.S. Army, lecturing on animal behavior and performing for troops. Years later, illness brought him home to India, far from applause. Damu didn't tame beasts. They respected him. That unspoken agreement made his presence unforgettable long after cages went dark. Number 4. Madame Cloffulia. Now this is amazing. Josephine Bois de Chêne had more facial hair at 8 than most grown men. Instead of hiding it, she transformed it into identity and artistry. Performing across Europe as Madame Cloffulia, she became known not for shock value, but for refinement. Her beard wasn't a burden, it was groomed, brushed, and once shaped in direct tribute to Napoleon III. The emperor even gifted her a diamond for the likeness. At a time when femininity was defined by silence and fragility, Josephine stood firm. She married a painter, toured widely, and crafted a presence that blended grace with defiance. While many performers were marketed as tragedies or monsters, she never surrendered control of her image. Audiences didn't sneer, they marveled. She refused to let society shrink her into a caricature. Her beard became a symbol, not of oddity, but of self-possession. Josephine Cloffulia didn't just challenge expectations, she quietly rewrote them, proving beauty could exist far outside the lines drawn for her. Number 3. Major and Fanny Berdett. Major and Fanny Berdett weren't loud. They didn't juggle, dance, or bark for applause. They were twins, small in stature, gentle in manner, and that alone was enough for the circus world to claim them. Born sometime in the late 1800s, they performed together on the sideshow circuit, wrapped in labels they never chose: midgets, dwarves, little wonders. None of those words touched who they actually were. There are no long interviews, no rich biographies, just scattered show listings, old posters, and their names fading into paper. Their act wasn't built on tricks. It was built on presence. They stood together in matching outfits or ornate costumes crafted to highlight their size, letting the image speak for itself. Behind every smiling pitch card sat a quiet truth. People watched them because they were different, and that difference paid the bills. Today, their trail is faint, but the Berdetts left something behind. Proof that resilience doesn't always roar. Sometimes it stands quietly, side by side, and endures. Number 2. The Gondans. They weren't just entertainers, they were equals. Euclides and Martha Gondin, both little people, married in Chicago in 1911 and spent years touring together as the Brazilian Gondans. But height was only the beginning of their act. They mixed sleight of hand, escape tricks, and mentalism into a polished routine that left audiences laughing, guessing, and clapping. They played vaudeville halls and circus tents, sometimes top billing, sometimes novelty slots, but always as a pair. What set them apart wasn't just talent, it was rhythm, trust, chemistry. They didn't rely on shock value or forced jokes. Their show was built on timing, charm, and connection. Over the years, they performed under different names, adapting as the business changed, the crowds shifted, and new acts emerged. But behind every alias, every poster, it was still them, side by side, doing what they loved. In a world that often broke duos apart, the Gondans quietly built something rare, a partnership that worked on stage and off. Number 1. Stefan Babrowski. His face disappeared behind a mane so thick it looked sculpted from sunlight. Stefan, known worldwide as Lionel the Lion-Faced Man, lived with hypertrichosis, a condition that coated his entire body with hair. To strangers, he resembled a creature somewhere between myth and man. But behind the stage name was someone gentle, intelligent, and deeply thoughtful. As a boy, he was handed over to a showman who saw profit in his appearance. Under that hard beginning, Lionel grew into a performer who handled every stare with quiet grace. He spoke multiple languages, read voraciously, and captivated audiences not with shock, but with charm and wit. His presence blurred boundaries, part mystery, part elegance. He spent years touring Europe and America, turning exploitation into something dignified through sheer character. When he retired in the late 1920s, he returned to Germany, choosing peace over applause. By the time he died in 1932, he had transformed ridicule into respect, something only the strongest spirits ever manage. If you found this video interesting, be sure to give it a thumbs up, share it, and press that subscribe button. Thanks for hanging with us. We'll see you soon.